if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about Chiltern Railways and the area of the business that you work in.
Yeah, certainly. I'm the engineering training manager, and one of my duties is I look after the apprentices, manage them through their apprenticeship. We're a train operating company. We have 3 depots and various outstations, and we run from London Marylebone all the way up to Kidderminster in the West Midlands. Our apprentices, 4-year apprenticeship basically, but I think you've got some further questions about that, Mark, further on.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you're the you're that sort of apprenticeship training manager. Do you get involved in the wider operation of the facility as well, or are you literally really sort of focused on the training of those the people in the company?
No, I'm responsible for training of technical training and safety training for all of the engineering staff.
Oh, brilliant.
And I also run the competence system to make sure that they can actually work on, because they're public service vehicles. Yep. So we can't just let anybody go on them. So
no, absolutely.
Work on them. Yeah,
we all want to be very confident when we walk onto your trains to make sure the right people have had their hands on them, I suppose. How many sort of people are there at Chiltern, at the depot you're at, and that you sort of work with?
Well, my office is at in Aylesbury, which is our main train maintenance depot. We have 2 others, one at Wembley, which is a light maintenance depot, and we now have one at Banbury in Oxfordshire as well, which is a lot smaller concern. Working at the depot, it's 24/7. The only day off a year is Christmas Day. We're about 80 people in total, although they're not all there at the same time because of the shift system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And okay, and so you mentioned apprentices earlier, and the sort of 4-year apprentices. So I know you do sort of level 3, level 4s, and that sort of thing in engineering. So just a little bit about how those apprentices fit into your business, really, and how they fit into everyday life at the depot and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm a firm believer the lifeblood of any business is our youngsters, and if we can cultivate them, train them properly, massive payback for the business. We only accept, if we take people from outside anyway, skilled service staff, we only accept those that have done recognised apprenticeships normally anyway. And with the youngsters that come to us that are successful in gaining the job, we can train them, mould them as we want them to, and in that 4 years they'll be doing all sorts of things to do with engineering, servicing, maintaining and repairing the trains.
And what does that sort of day say? You sort of touched on the jobs they do. So what sort of, what does that day-to-day job look like for your apprentices? What sort of jobs do they get involved in between the different parts of the train that you look after?
Well, other than the sort of training courses we put on, and we also employ other training providers for bespoke courses, technical courses, they basically spend their time with the skilled service staff. So the production management will put them with one of our skilled service staff. Day to day, there are examinations of trains that are coming out of traffic, so we've got to check all sorts of things. Of course, loads of repairs to do as well, so they'll take part in that with the skilled service staff. That's just working on the trains. They will also get involved with the heavy maintenance staff, which is they change things like engines, transmissions, battery packs, wheel sets, things like that. They'll spend time with the heavy maintenance team on the wheel lathe, which we've got metal wheels which get damaged, so they have to be repaired. So we have a specialist wheel lathe for doing that. They will spend their time going around the various depots. We try and put them with various people. We have outside contractors that deal with all our air conditioning, and who are based at Aylesbury Depot. They maintain and service all the air conditioning systems on the trains. We will put them with them for a while as well. They will visit our control centre to see how the whole railway runs then. Spend time with our duty fleet managers that are basically responsible for, if anything goes wrong with the trains when they're out in traffic, they'll help the drivers. and they'll also arrange for them to come back to the depot during their maintenance intervals to be maintained and serviced. We also do Duke of Edinburgh Gold. We expect our apprentices to do that.
So after 4 years, they have a head full of everything by the sounds of things.
Yeah.
What a rounded, what a sort of expansive rounded apprenticeship they get by the end of it.
Indeed.
And who sort of the step before that? Who do you look for when you're sort of interviewing people? Well, actually, how often do you take people in? How often do you have people coming through your apprenticeship scheme? And when you're trying to recruit those apprentices, what are the type of people you're looking for? Who would stand out for you when you're going to take someone on?
Well, we try to recruit every year. We had a hiatus for a couple of years due to management initiatives, but we're one light this year, so we're looking to, subject to approval, looking to recruit one other this year to start in September.
Mm-hmm.
What are we looking for? When we interview, we look for somebody that's probably mucked around with bicycles or even cars, a mechanical aptitude, also electrical aptitude, things like that as a hobby. And obviously the educational qualifications that the colleges will require for them to attend the academic courses.
Yeah, and that sort of in-company training bit, you know, they go around lots of different places. Do you sort of structure it so you have one person that sort of mentors them? Is that you? And then you sort of place them with managers as they go through all of those different departments, or how do you sort of manage that sort of in-company training of them?
I have a trainer assessor that works for me that is very heavily involved, hands-on with the guys. Our production manager, the depot production manager, he acts as a mentor for them. We've only had that a few years actually, but it's really, really good because he's basically our link anyway, in finding out what they're getting up to out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he can mentor them through that. And they've obviously we've got a training plan for each of them anyway. Yeah. For the whole 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And then at the end of that sort of process, at the end of that apprenticeship process, do they all stick with you at that depot, or do they go off into different parts of the business? I mean, how do you manage that sort of progression after they've got their competency and their apprenticeship done?
Well, we never promised them a job at the end of it because there may not be a position as skilled service staff. But if we spent 4 years on them, we normally try to employ as skilled service staff. Now, it may be at Aylesbury, it may be at Wembley, it may be at Banbury, depending on where there's a position.
Yep.
As I think the whole country's aware, well, particularly my industry, very, very ageing working population, and not enough youngsters coming in at the bottom. I think finally the penny's dropped, with the government, let alone anybody else, that we need to do something about it. So we have people that are retiring every year now. So places become available. Yeah.
So that passing down of the knowledge and getting that younger sort of generation trained on a regular basis. So I know, as you say, you take people on every year, so you've got a really good pipeline of those young people coming through your system, which is great. And I think that's something that a lot of businesses find it hard to get started in the first place, because you have that sort of bit where you don't have anyone progressing through. But then once you get that sort of yearly cycle done, you sort of having people actually finishing their apprenticeships on a yearly basis, and then you can be confident you've got someone coming through that will fill that role as people retire at the other end of it. Do you think if you were you had to give some advice, I suppose, or some top tips or whatever to a company that was looking to take on an apprentice, what would be your sort of three main things that you think, if you're going to do an apprenticeship scheme, you must have these three things in place to make it successful? Have you got sort of three top tips?
Yes, definitely a training plan for your in-house training. That's a must, absolute must. Tailor your recruitment very carefully so you get who you want. I've had disasters in the past, somebody that hasn't lasted the course. It's all a bit of the unknown when you're taking a for any job anyway, when you're recruiting for any job. So tailor your recruitment carefully. We not only do we have an interview face to face, or in these times via Zoom or Skype or Teams, but we also have a practical element where they have to come in and we have a look at them. So I would advise that definitely during your recruitment. And whilst they're with us, smother them with love. Keep on their, keep with them and keep encouraging them to, because one of the key questions we ask, how do you think you're going to last 4 years? It's a long time, actually, to be quite honest.
Yeah. I think for any business, apprenticeships are definitely you get out to a certain extent what you've put in. And I completely agree with you that sort of that mentoring is so important, and keeping them moving through the program in the good times and the ones that they might struggle with in the harder times is one of the key things to making sure those people get through their apprenticeship, really. So no, I completely agree. What about the how have you fared through these sort of difficult year? I mean, you're squarely frontline, keeping the trains going while we're still trying to move, while the people that can move about are still trying to move about. How have Chiltern found it? How have you found it with keeping everything going?
Basically, they're totally new challenges. I mean, as everyone's probably aware, we've got a lot of people are working from home. I do a bit of working from home myself, so we're getting less passengers. So we've reduced our services a little bit, not running as many because we're not filling the train, or we've got all the social distance aspects of it. But everybody basically is working extremely hard, a lot harder. There's new challenges.
But from your side, has it meant with less people sort of passengers, has it given you more time to, have they said, right, let's get the stock all sorted, let's get all the maintenance done, because
that's the theory, but we've got
an
aging fleet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's the plan anyway.
Yeah, but just give you that time. So they turn around. The trains might be running less, but it means we can get you guys working a bit harder and getting a bit more through the workshop, maybe.
Of course, like all the other train operating companies, at the minute, the government are calling the shots.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, we're being run on taxpayers' money, so we have to do something big in return for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But essentially, we're being run by the government.
Yeah, well, and right, it's like with everything, really. I mean, they've got to keep the funding going for the people that like you say, where your numbers have dropped so much because of the working at home. It's impossible not to, really, isn't it? Any last sort of words for either apprentices looking to do an apprenticeship or businesses looking to take an apprentice on? Any sort of final thoughts about either why to do it or what they should do, or
to the businesses, if you don't already have it, because there are various, as you know yourself, Mark, there are incentives.
Yep.
It's the way ahead. I mean, the youngsters of the future, it's got to be done. I'm for anybody that wants to be an apprentice, look around, see what you're comfortable, and apply. Go for it. Just go for it. And look out for the adverts. Most of it's online now.
Absolutely, and it's good news that you'll be looking for another one. Well, subject to approval, looking for another one this year, because I know I've been to the depot. I've met a lot of the apprentices as well, and it's a cracking opportunity that you give the apprentices, and great start to a career. Well, not just necessarily with you guys on trade, but as you say, it's such a wide apprenticeship and so many skills that they gain over those years. That what a great start to a career in engineering. It's brilliant. So look, thank you, Colin. Thank you for your insight.
No problems,
appreciate
Mark.
it. I've enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah,
And
to you.
I'll hopefully, once all this blows over, I'll pop back to Aylesbury at some point and see you again at the depot.
That'd be great. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Colin. Okay.
Cheers, Ian. Bye-bye now.